British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has announced mandatory digital IDs without which you will not be able to work.
Instead, it's turned into an assault on civil liberties, campaigners say. The Prime Minister, they argue, enforcing a big brother state on an entire nation to target relatively few who are working illegally.
This government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
It seems many people are unhappy about this. They say this is government overreach. They say it's just an excuse for another layer of control over the citizens. And some say it sounds a lot like Revelation 13, and it's frightening. The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast, or the number of his name. What is the mark of the beast? Welcome to Morning Tea. Hello, I'm Joanne Jolie. So great to have you here today. So, what is the mark of the beast? How would the first century readers of John's letter understand this mark? Should we be concerned that this action by the Prime Minister is ushering in the mark of the beast of Revelation? So to answer that, I'm going to offer you a few excerpts from the radio program of Bible teacher Steve Gregg and his thoughts for your consideration.
And they do say that, now they say often, that the mark of the beast is in fact a computer chip that will be placed in us. And since there's a lot of talk about that in the news, that gets them all excited, say, oh, this is it. This is the mark of the beast. You know, Bill Gates is going to force us to get a COVID shot, and it's going to contain a little chip, and then we're doomed. We've got the mark of the beast. Well, a chip under the skin is not a mark. A mark is something visible. In fact, that's the point of a mark. You mark something so it's identifiable. And so I don't think that a chip in the hand is a mark. But when I was younger, the same people, the very same teachers, were saying that the mark of the beast would be a laser tattoo on the hand of the forehead. Now that was the cutting edge, sexy technology of the time, is invisible laser tattoo that could only be seen under a black light or something. That's old technology now. That's so 70s. So basically, the same teachers have given up on the laser tattoo. Now they're saying a chip, because that's what's sexy and that's what's in the news now. If the chip goes the way of the laser tattoo and some other thing comes along, they'll be saying that's the mark of the beast. Now the mark of the beast is not anything technological, as near as I can tell. I mean, if it is, the Bible certainly doesn't suggest it. The mark of the beast on the forehead, for example, is probably in principle very similar to the mark or the name of God on the forehead of the saints in the very next verse. In Revelation 14:1, John saw the 144,000, they had their father's name on their forehead. Well, the servants of the beast have the beast's name or mark or number on their forehead or on their hand. The idea is a fairly well-known one in the Roman world at the time, and so the readers of Revelation would not have been mistaken about this. They would have recognized that having a mark on your hand or your forehead indicates you're somebody's slave, because in the Roman world, runaway slaves, once they were caught, were often branded by their master on their hand or their forehead. The hand and the forehead are very difficult to cover with clothing, more or less. I mean, if you got any part of you showing, usually your hand or your forehead would be one. So you couldn't very easily conceal whose slave you were if you had the mark of your master on your forehead or on your hand. Now, God's servants have his name on their forehead, according to Revelation 14:1. The others have the devil's or the beast's name or mark on their forehead and hand. Now, as Christians do not literally have a stamp on their forehead with God's name, neither, in my opinion, do the devil's worshipers and followers have his name or stamped on them or implanted on them or anything like that. This is a spiritual condition. A person is a servant of God if they love and serve God. And a person is a servant of Satan and his system if they love and serve that system. And so being a servant is symbolized by having your master's name on your forehead or on your hand. And this is a symbolic way, I believe, of saying that throughout the world, people are either the servants of Satan or the servants of God. They either have God's name as their master on their forehead or the devil's. Now, the hand and the forehead in the Bible sometimes represent your works. Your hands represent your works, and the forehead, or the place between your eyes, is your thoughts. In Deuteronomy 6, God told Israel to bind his law to their hands and between their eyes, that is, their foreheads. And the Jews, who wanted to take that very literally, would wear phylacteries. They'd have boxes that they'd wear on their foreheads or on their hands that had scriptures in them. But of course, God didn't mean wear printed scriptures in a box on your hand or forehead. He meant he wanted their thoughts and their actions to be governed by, to be bound by God's will, which was revealed in his law. They're to bind his words, his laws, on their hands and forehead, a symbol of governing their thoughts and their actions or their works by God's word. And no doubt, the hand and the forehead in Revelation also suggests that the person who's got the devil's or the beast's name and number on their forehead or hand, they are recognizable by the way they think and the way they act, just as Christians are recognizable by the way they think and the way they act. And so it's saying that just as a slave in the Roman marketplace, one could easily look at them and see whose master, whose slave they were, who was their master, by the mark on their hand or forehead. So when you meet a person and you see how they think and how they act, it identifies them either as a follower of the devil's way or of God. And I think that that's what's being said in that passage. I don't think it has anything to do with chips or laser tattoos or anything like that. All right. How could you become a servant of Satan or a servant of God by having something put on your body? I mean, we're talking about matters of the heart. I mean, you become a servant of God by surrendering your heart to God and by obeying him and following him, not by, having something on your hand or your forehead. Same thing with being a servant of Satan.
Yeah.
You're not a servant of Satan because you wear a tattoo. You're a servant of Satan because you're actually serving Satan with your actions. If somebody said, deny Jesus or you won't be able to buy or sell, or deny Jesus or we'll shoot you or we'll cut your head off, that would be exactly the kind of test that you're talking about. And many Christians have faced that very kind of test throughout their whole lives and throughout history. There's many countries where Christians are facing those very circumstances now, and there always have been. This is not an end time scenario you're describing, but what I'm saying is that this is not really about a particular action, a particular choice. It's about a lifestyle. It's about who you are serving in your life. Mm-hmm. That's what I believe is the mark of whose servant you are. You either, as it were, have your advertising by your thoughts and your actions that you're a servant of Christ, or you're advertising by your thoughts and your actions that you're a servant of the devil, as much so as if a servant in the streets of Rome had his master's brand or name tattooed across his face. And that's what I think the imagery is saying.
If you found that interesting and you want more, watch my interview with Steve here on the end times and the last day. And have no fear, I will see you next time. Remember to look for the blessings because they're all around you.